This is KUGAN CASSIUS Rifle Team in association with Macklins GNR. But I just want to point out that Eddie started ranting for about a minute and then we realised the sound wasn't on.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
But
lovely day.
Just saying that you needed a haircut, basically.
I've got a haircut straight after this.
Booked in.
Yeah. No, there's a young girl comes to the office and cuts it.
She cut all the metro now?
No, but it's important because when you get to my age and you're losing a bit, you've got to just do a little bit of crafty combing.
Looks alright.
Thanks, mate. But it's a visual deception. If you take it shorter on the sides, it looks like you got more on top.
And it looks like you've lost weight as well.
Does it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh. Okay, mate. Cheers.
Wow, what an eventful few days.
Crazy.
First of all, is this the first time sort of people may have noticed that you made a really ruthless move with a fight that you were so vocal about for weeks.
Yeah.
And then just like that.
I don't think it's, ruthless move, not really. If you would have seen the work that went in behind the scenes to try and make this fight, you wouldn't really think it was ruthless, because the amount of times I had the opportunity to lose my rag or walk away during negotiations, that potentially would have been more ruthless. But we exhausted discussions to a point where it was like, I can't take it anymore. Sky can't take it anymore. You know, your demands are outrageous. We always know it was going to be difficult, but I bit my tongue on so many different things to try and make it happen. And then we got to a stage where it was just never ending. And I said, look, you have 24 hours to accept these terms. The fight's there, it's in front of you. We've agreed the terms on Golovkin's side. Everything's perfect. If you really want this fight, you must sign. And I don't know whether either they didn't want the fight or they thought I was bluffing or whatever. But when I say it's a 5 p.m. deadline, it wasn't a bluff. You know, Golovkin was thinking, we'll take a fight on September the 10th instead in America on HBO. And I'm thinking, we're going to lose the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world here. And I don't want that to happen. So when I went back to them, and you know, Loeffler knew about the deadlines I'd set for Junior, or he'd set as well, and we just said, after that, you know, that's it. And I said, look, I'm sorry, they won't accept the terms. And he said, okay, we'll look at a fight in America. And I said, well, okay. Spoke to Kell Brook that night, and just, you know, the Vargas fight was always, it's a really difficult situation with Kell Brook. And I know people always say that I talk bollocks when I say nobody wants to fight him. They don't. You know, we offered $2 million plus 50% of US TV for Vargas. We offered $3 million plus US TV for Adrian Broner. And we talked about even more than that for Danny Garcia. I can't physically pay more. Even those numbers are ridiculous, and they put everybody at financial risk. But I'm in a situation with Kell Brook where I've built him from that love more and do stage to, I believe, the best welterweight in the world. Now, we haven't been able to prove it for a number of reasons. One, he nearly lost his leg and got stabbed after the world title fight. Two, he fought Jojo Dan, then we had a quick one against Frankie Gavin, then he busted a rib up in the Chavez preparation. So then we fought Bizier. So his resume since winning a world title has been really poor. Not really any fault of his own, just how it's been. So we've been dying for this big fight, but I don't know what else to do. And then when I turn to the guys who I'm offering the money to and say, I'll tell you what, we'll come to America. It's like, oh, we haven't really, you know, got the money for Brook over here, and that's tough, we're okay. So it's been really frustrating. And when I look at the numbers that EUBANK was going to make for fighting Golovkin, and then I look at the numbers that Kell Brook was going to get for fighting Vargas, that's when I said to him, it's a shame you just won't fight Golovkin. And he said, I'll fight Golovkin.
Did you say it a little bit tongue-in-cheek? Like, it's not tongue-in-cheek, but a little bit half-serious, not half-serious?
I asked the question hoping that he would say, or he'd be inquisitive and he'd want more, you know, he'd want to talk more about Golovkin, because at that stage, we hadn't heard back from the EUBANKs, and I was really pissed off that I'd put all this work in only to lose the opportunity to bring this fighter to the UK. So when I said to him, you know, looking at the money for this Golovkin fight, it's a shame that, you know, you won't fight him. And he said, you know I'll fight him. And we had this discussion before, sitting over there after the Khan thing. He said to me, make the Golovkin fight for me. That was when Khan boxed Canelo, and everyone just took the piss out of me and said, what a prick. But we had that conversation then. It was only really because then it looked like EUBANK was going to fight and we had the Vargas fight. It wasn't really mentioned again after I spoke to Tom Loeffler. So he said to me, you know, I'll take that fight. That was his first thing that he said. And I said, well, and I hadn't told him at that point that it looked like the EUBANK fight was dead. And then he said, well, he's fighting EUBANK, isn't he? I said, look, they're not coming back to me. I've accepted my deadline with Tom Loeffler and they're not coming back. So he said, I will take that fight. So I said, look, let me speak to Tom Loeffler, blah, blah, blah. So I spoke to Tom Loeffler and he was like, yeah, but Eddie, you know, everyone keeps saying they're going to fight Gennady Golovkin. We can't go through this same process that we went through with the EUBANKs. It's been 3 or 4 weeks. You know, and I feel for Tom Loeffler because he gets this all the time. You know, he had long chats with Frank Warren about the Billy Joe Saunders fight. That didn't happen. He had long chats with us about the Chris Eubank fight. And then all of a sudden we're saying, look, sorry, this ain't going to happen either. He said, look, we can't afford to go another week or 2 weeks with Kell Brook saying he wants to fight and then not to sign, because we'll just take this fight in America on September 10th. And I said, just wait there. So a few hours later, spoke to Kell Brook again. He said, no, Ed, I'm telling you, I'll take the fight. Everybody knows the model, the pay-per-view model. That's not to be discussed. That's not even a case of talking to him about his deal. You agree to costs. We work to drive the revenue. You keep all the money. And then I spoke to his dad. Then I spoke to his lawyer. And within 2 or 3 hours, it was like, we'll take this fight. Everything's the same. The same deal for Golovkin that he was getting to fight EUBANK. The same deal for Brook that EUBANK was offered. And it just slotted over the next sort of 24 hours. It just slotted into place. And, you know, it was a mad situation. And then you've got like, you know, EUBANK slating me on Twitter saying, oh, it's all with Matchroom, you know.
Let me just ask you, right, so I'm going to go to his Twitter now. So someone said, come on, my friend, this is Chris EUBANK Senior. Give us some positive news regarding GGG and Junior. This was 3-4 days ago. His response was, we are still waiting on Eddie Hearn. We have asked for talks today, still waiting for a response, and we are ready. This is the one that was a little bit confusing. So on the day, I think you announced the fight with Kell Brook, Chris EUBANK Senior tweeted Golovkin, the Golovkin
Junior,
account.
you mean?
No, Senior. And
this
said,
wasn't the day we announced. Oh, the morning we announced.
No, you announced in the evening, didn't you?
Yeah.
On the, was it the
Friday?
Friday.
Yeah.
This was in the earlier on.
Yeah.
So he says to the Golovkin account, you are scared of us. No response from Tom Loeffler or Matchroom Boxing. O2 or Vegas, and then that was the bit where it said, don't hide KUGAN, you may have one.
Yeah.
So what
basically,
that,
after he missed the deadline to sign the fight, he came on, I don't know, he never phoned me, I think he phoned my dad and said, oh, we need to talk, you know, we need to work this out. And my dad said, no, Chris, you missed the deadline. We told you, we set the deadline in writing with all the terms to be signed. He then spoke to my old man who said, Chris, the deadline is 5 p.m. tomorrow or this afternoon, whenever it was. Do not miss that deadline because the fight is not happening if you do. And then after that, that's when he started tweeting all that. So then he came on and said, I think he spoke to John or my old man and said, we need to talk about this. He said, there's nothing to talk about. You know the terms. You've known the terms for so long. You had a chance to sign. We don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about all the things that you want that is not happening. We've wasted 3 or 4 weeks of my life doing this. And I'm not talking about who's going to commentate. I'm not talking about how you're going to double the ticket prices. I'm not talking about all the how you're going to decide the undercard and what the fighters get paid. No. We agree a budget and we work to that budget, just like we did for Frochgroves, for Joshua Martin, for every AJ fight, for every pay-per-view fight, for Quig Frampton, exactly the same. It's not, unfortunately, he feels that he is much bigger than a Joshua. This is Chris EUBANK Sr. He thinks his son is much bigger than Anthony Joshua.
He's actually said that to you?
100 times. And it's like, in what respect? TV figures? No. Box office figures, as in the arena? No. You know, digital hits? No. It's so difficult, Kugan. You know, and then it's like, this guy's got to commentate. Right? This is the conversation. I mean, he asked for a meeting with Sky, right? Which I don't really entertain, but I thought, you know, I want to make this fight so badly. I'll take EUBANK in to meet Barney Francis with me, and we'll, you know, and it was one you really should have filmed. But then after then, it's like, no, I want this commentator. It's like, that Sky make that decision. No, well, that's a deal breaker. So, oh, fuck off then. You know, you don't. The fights are difficult enough.
What's this about O2 or Vegas? What is that about?
He's talking about doing the fight himself, I guess. After he phoned my old man. This was like 2 days after the deadline. Said, you need to make this fight. He said, no, we don't need to make this fight. He said, well, if you're not going to do this fight, I'll do this fight. I mean, this is, you know, this is the level of delusion. So he will look to take it to his own broadcaster. But don't understand, people like Tom Loeffler are bright people. When the deadline passes and when they know how difficult this relationship is going to be in this process, they want out. You know, now they're in a situation, Tom Loeffler, he's got a fight with one of the pound-for-pound top fighters in the world in Kell Brook. It's going to run like that. You know, and these people are fighters, not promoters. You know, I don't go up to Junior and tell him to make sure that he throws the left hook against Golovkin. And they shouldn't come to me and tell me how to dictate ticket prices. Simple as that. And it's my name and my reputation and my licence that's on the line in this show. You know, talk about security and all what company. You know, no. If a problem happens at security, I want the best people dealing with that. I want the best undercard we can have. I don't want a relationship where he comes back and says, we want to spend 150 grand on the undercard. And then everyone says, HEARN, it's a shit undercard. It's my reputation. Ticket prices go out, they're twice as much as a Joshua card, or 80% higher. HEARN, you're a rip-off, Mark. What are you doing with these ticket prices? And then we do a Klitschko Fury, and we sell half the arena because they've tried to be too greedy. Not for me. Not for me. And at some point, you have to put down your feet and go, I'm not doing this. And after that deadline passed, and I went and made the BROOK fight, I can't tell you how, you know, I spent 3 or 4 weeks literally, I was going to say pulling my hair out, but, you know, that's happening naturally. But just fucking miserable. Angry. Dealing with these people who do not realise the opportunity that is in front of them. Millions of pounds. The number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. 4 world championship belts. What more do you want me to do as a promoter than deliver everything that I said I was going to deliver for you and everything you asked me to deliver? And you want to fuck it up because you think you're clever.
Do you know, on the phone with me the other day, I said to you, how you spoke to Chris EUBANK Jr. And you said...
I've never had a conversation. I've had one conversation, I think, with Chris EUBANK Jr. longer than, hello, how are you, mate? And that was at a show on January the 30th at the Copper Box, and he was there. And I said to him about the Nick Blackwell fight, and I said, I don't think you should have the Nick Blackwell fight. I think you should fight on the Quigg Frampton card, and then you should fight April the 9th. On the Joshua card, maybe even against Danny Jacobs, or maybe another fight. And they wanted to go their own route down the British title line, etc. Again, they didn't listen to me. Well, that worked out all right. We got back on track. You had a good win against Tom Doran. You asked me to make the Golovkin fight. I did all of that. I made you the Golovkin fight. You owned the financials of the show, 80-20 split. We agreed the Golovkin fight, you would have made millions and millions of pounds. But you couldn't help yourself.
Did Chris EUBANK Jr. know about the deadline?
Probably not. Probably not.
Did Chris EUBANK Jr., or to your knowledge, know about the stuff you're talking about, the ticket prices?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not.
So where does his say come into?
Doesn't. He's controlled. He's controlled. He's controlled by a father and a manager.
But have you dealt with a fighter in the last 5 years where the actual fighter you've had that much less contact with? Because you're very hands-on with all your fighters.
The fighters that I've had no contact, well, that sort of contact with are Chris EUBANK Jr., Carl Frampton. This is the fighters that I've promoted, and you know.
But you didn't talk to Carl when you were promoting him?
Not really.
No.
When you've got a manager like that, like Barry or like Chris EUBANK, I'm not saying they're the same because they're different. Barry is more logical. They don't want you anywhere near. If I'm in a room here and you've got Chris EUBANK Senior and Junior, and I go up to Junior and start talking to him, Senior will be straight over. All right, what's going on here? You know, that's what you're dealing with. The Junior, he's a very, very good fighter, and actually a really, really nice geezer. And I would think right now, probably saying, what the fuck is going on? He wanted that fight. It's not himself that's costing that fight. It's people that don't know what they're doing. So, do I feel for him? Maybe. But he has to really have a big set of bollocks and ask what the fuck went on. Excuse my language. I seem to swear a lot in your interviews lately.
It's okay.
But I feel as though it's a different kind of audience. It's not non-corporate.
Senior's registered as EUBANK's manager?
It might be Ronnie Davis, actually. I'm not sure.
Right.
But he calls every single shot. Every single shot.
But you can't help feel a little bit sorry for, because EUBANK Junior.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He knows. You can't feel sorry for a fighter who is given these people. He's giving Chris EUBANK Senior and the lawyer authority to act on his behalf. So therefore, you can't feel sorry for him.
Actually,
but he doesn't know what's gone on. He doesn't know that if he was sitting in the meetings, he would surely say, "Dad, leave it. It's fine. I'm not bothered about that." You know. I don't know. I'm not interested in that. Just sign the fight. That's what he would be saying. But I'm sure Senior will say, you know, we have a responsibility to negotiate. But of course you do. But if he's good enough for Anthony Joshua, Carl Froch, Kell Brook has to be good enough for you, mate. And when you're told that you're on a when you're told you will be on a deadline, that's not all of a sudden been sprung on him, this email about 5 PM tomorrow. It's been 3 or 4 weeks of discussions. And I couldn't take it anymore. You know, there just comes a point where, and listen, he's got a huge future. If he has any brains now, he'll keep his head down. He's had huge publicity, even through not fighting Gennady Golovkin. Fight the winner in December.
Yeah, but why do you want to? You've had 2 occasions now where you've sort of had issues dealing with Chris EUBANK Senior. Why do you want to go through that again?
I don't really want to go through it again. I'm hoping they've learned from their mistakes. Senior won't, because that's the kind of person and individual that he is. Junior, I'm hoping, will say, you know, we need to sort this out. But ultimately as well, he's a big name, a good fighter and a big draw. So I don't mind, and I've done this 100 times before. Quig Frampton's a great example, where I've had to bite my tongue, go through some pain, and make the fight. For the good of the fighters and the game. And me and Sky. Okay? And I would do that, and I did do that for Golovkin EUBANK. Hundreds of times, where I've sat in a meeting, and he's asked for something, and I've just gone off on one. And said, no, right, that's it. Fucking no. And listen, as my industry colleague, Frank Warren, will probably have been through the exact same process to try and make the Billy Joe Saunders fight. And you know, you get to a stage where you think, you know what? This is going to happen. I had that feeling 6 times in these negotiations. And then you sit down and you go, right, we're all ready to sign. Right, yes. Now, about this. And it's like, no. Please, don't do it. You know, and they did it. And then when they were told not to do it, they did it again and again. And then when they said, look, this is, Loeffler wants to know, we want to know, Sky want to know, what is happening on September the 10th? These are the terms. Do you agree? Sign the contract, or the deadline's tomorrow, we all move on. No response. We'll sit this one out. You know, they need us, they need this fight. You know, we'll get what we want. Boom, deadline passes. Oh, what? Oh no, we're ready to sign. You're not ready to sign, are you? Because the contract hasn't been agreed on your side. Everything's fine with Golovkin. Everything's fine with Sky. All it is you. There's the contract. Sign it. You own all the money from the show. 80-20, same as all the other boys. We agreed the costs, won't spend a penny more. No excuses. No excuses.
I don't know if you saw an interview I did with Carl Froch at the weigh-in for Joshua in Brazil. So Froch said that they don't want this fight. And he said that, anyway, that was the basis around the interview. So as it currently stands, do you think that Senior wanted this fight, and do you think that Junior really wanted this fight?
Yes.
You think they both wanted the fight? So no part of you think that this was a big publicity thing?
No, I don't. No, maybe. No. I think Senior knew that by calling Golovkin's name, he knew it was going to create a huge amount of media and interest. Perhaps the pace of the negotiations and the unwillingness to sign the fight does make me question whether Senior actually wanted the fight. I believe 100% Junior wanted the fight. I do. I think he'll fight anyone, and I believe that. And I think in the right hands, he has a wonderful career in front of him. But it's, listen, he's still, like I said, he's still got a big future. He may go and fight Billy Joe Saunders.
Frank Warren actually said in the last interview we done with him, which was a month ago, he said that this fight has zero chance of happening.
Yeah, well,
But is he basing it upon his...
he was
EUBANKs and his...
He was right. I didn't agree with that statement at the time because it was that close to being signed, but I guess he was right. He's been through it with them. He knows how difficult they are. The difference is, though, the money he was being offered for the Billy Joe Saunders fight versus the money for the Golovkin fight was like millions apart. So that's the frustrating thing. That's when you think, well, if you don't want to fight Billy Joe, then fight Golovkin. And you want to fight Golovkin, well, the money's so big, you have to sign. But again, it's difficult to sit here and criticise because I know if Junior was in the room during these negotiations, the fight would be signed.
Just in the room, no...
Doesn't even have to say anything, just listen. Because it's that logical. It's so easy to understand. It's like, there are times where I'm just going, what are you doing? What are you saying? It's about control. I can't give up what we've built over 30 years for someone else to come in and just steamroll a reputation and a brand and a family business. That's the difference. If I was working for another company that wasn't mine and we had to suffer the pain and the reputation, but we'd make a few quid, I'd probably swallow it. But not a family business that means the world to us, where someone's going to come in and start making the decisions that matter and count. And we weren't prepared to do it. That was the bottom line.
Can you just give us an example of working with Joshua? And I know it's completely at the opposite ends of the scales, but in terms of the pay-per-view and the control of the show, can you just give me an example of how Joshua, the conversations go with Joshua regarding things like the undercard and things?
It's really straightforward, and the same applies for Kell Brook, and the same applied for Carl Froch. So you would set out a budget. You know me, just an accountant. Everything is trying to be run off a budget. That's just how we are. So how every good business should be run. So, Sky pay-per-view. We don't know what the Sky pay-per-view is. Does it do 400, 500, 600, 700? That's the gamble we all take. Okay, we know it's a lot of money. We work together to drive it as much as we can. Ticket sales, we know it's going to sell out. And this is the same with a Joshua fight. Okay, so O2 Arena sell out X. International TV. We're going to sell to these territories, rough budget of income, bosh. Sponsorship, we know we're going to achieve X 100,000 in sponsorship. Program sales, merchandise sales, any other income, radio rights. That all goes in the revenue. The revenue is kind of the easy part, okay? Then you come down to the costs. So the costs are the same cost brackets as every single pay-per-view show you do, or every arena show you do. Give you an example. Undercard, sanction fees, hotels, flight costs, drug testing, staging, walk-ons, international TV, syndication, satellite costs. I mean, ring card girls, press conference costs, everything that's standard. Some can be 500 quid, some can be 40 grand. But we would go to the fighter and we would say, right, this is the proposed budget for your fight. Okay? They would look through it with them, their accountant, their lawyer, their manager, and say, okay, yeah, hotels looks a bit expensive. I say, it is, but it's in London, and look, when we did Froch against Kessler, there's the budget for that and the actual, so it's in line. Okay, fair enough. You know, promo girls, 600 quid, better be salts. You know, etc., etc. But no, seriously, you literally go through each. Some fighters would go through every line, and some fighters would go fair, 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 bit lumpy, fair, fair. Okay, good. That's like, then after that, and this is the important bit. After the show is finished, we reconcile. Then you've got the actuals. Okay, so what did we actually spend? Okay, let's look at all our costs. Boom, we're bang in line. Oh, we overspent by 3,000 on hotels, but good news, we didn't spend as much on the airline fares. I mean, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you, but anyway.
Great.
I know, but so okay, we did what we said, we're in line budget, now let's look at the figures. Yes, we sold out. Yes, we sold all the sponsorship. Yes, we maximised the radio rights. Yes, we sold 4,000 programmes. How did we do on the pay-per-view? Bosh. Bottom line figure, take your costs away from your income, net profit, yours. We take 20% for all our hard work. Thank you very much. There's your multi-millions. Have a good day. Right? That is how it works. That is how simple it is. It's not, and when I set the undercard, I'll give you an example. For the undercard, for Joshua's shows, he always says to me, got to have a great undercard. What fighter who is paying for these undercards says that? We wouldn't let him have a weak or a shit undercard. But for him to turn around and say, oh, what fight do you think? Oh, last one, Groves Murray. Oh, yes, it's expensive. No, but we need, that's called a brain, right? So other people who might be a little bit more stringent, Carl Froch, good example. Carl Froch was a hard man to do business with, but very fair, very honest, and very smart. So when we set a budget, boom, right. And you know, Josh would say to me, okay, so we set a budget, might be 700 grand for the undercard, right? Right, now I have to come up with the fights that Sky are happy with, Joshua's happy with, and fall within that budget. And everything's listed. EUBANK's getting X, Doran's getting X, Groves is getting X. And he might come back to me and say, you're paying him that much? So listen, that's how much you've got to pay him for this fight, Josh. Okay, you know best. But that's the relationship. Trust. I trust Anthony Joshua implicitly in everything he does. He trusts me. We believe in each other. That is a great partnership. If you don't trust me, don't work with me. If you don't believe in me, don't work with me. But let me tell you, if you're good enough, it's going to cost you millions of pounds. And it just, the reason that we took this policy, which we call the open book ownership, if you like, is, so David Brent when I do that, isn't it? Terrible, is to break down the trust barrier and for total clarity for fighters. When Carl Froch boxed George Groves, in the old days, I could have given him a purse of, I don't know, 4 million quid, right? He probably would have taken it. He owns the show, he gets double, right? So,
can you just define or just clarify what own the show?
You own the financials of the show. Right. So, what Chris Eubank would say is, well, if I own the show,
he's got the control.
I want to control the ticket prices. I said, no, it doesn't work like that, mate. I said, you're not ripping off the public and you're not damaging my name and my reputation. We agree a budget, but I've never had a situation I mean, Anthony Joshua fight tickets are expensive, right? We sell out every time. And the Klitschko prices were bordering on double the cost of an Anthony Joshua show, right? They sold, I don't know the exact figure, say 10, 11,000 out of 19. I'm not having it. So there has to be a clarity between both parties and common sense. So Sky demand a certain undercard for a pay-per-view show. It's not going to be a conversation where EUBANK's come out and say, right, we actually only want to spend 200 grand on the undercard. Well, you can't because Sky won't be happy with that. By the way, I want to put a good card on. Well, we don't care. We own the show, so it's going to be that. So you're going to charge double the ticket prices and put a shit undercard on.
Is that what they wanted to spend, or is that?
No, that's just an example. No, they definitely wanted to cut the undercard cost, but they wanted to control that, and even worse, they wanted to control what each fighter on the undercard was paid. Can you imagine the pain? And you've got like, I don't know, Charlie Edwards, who have just announced fighting for a world title, and he says, oh, you know, Charlie Edwards flyweight, we want to give him 15 grand, 20 grand. You know, so he's fighting for, mate, he's putting his whole career on the line to fight a two-weight world champion on a pay-per-view card. And that's the process for each individual fighter. It would have been so painful. So the answer was no. Can't believe I just spent 10 minutes talking about the dynamics of it. I mean,
it's actually very interesting.
Well, I know it is, but it's not really something that people normally talk about, is it? But I guess that's what.
Do you think that Junior will have to move away from senior to sort of progress?
That's not. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. The only way they can move forward. Listen, they don't have to be with me. I'm sure they can make money elsewhere. But if they want to make multis, they've got to be with me, and regularly. But it's going to take the dad to turn around and say, I messed up. I'm sorry. But come on. No chance. Or it's going to take the son to say, Dad, you've got to sort this out.
You know, at the start of this conversation, I said it was a pretty ruthless move what you've done, and you went, oh, well, it's not really. But it is really, isn't it? Because you're kind of showing...
I have to... Listen, you can't let people... Yeah. This is business. This ain't like, I don't know, a couple of friends squabbling over... I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway. So, you have to be firm but fair. You know, I did everything to try and make that fight. 3 or 4 weeks of just putting up with total bollocks to try and get us over the line. And in the end, when the time came, look, enough is enough, this is it. The answer was no. And he'll probably say, oh, the terms weren't fair. But other than just giving you a 20-minute breakdown of what the terms are, I don't know, how can it not be fair when it's fair for every world-class elite fighter? And maybe he says, well, we're not any old... This is what he would say. We're not any old world-class elite fighter. See, in the past I've said to him, well, look at Anthony Joshua's on the same model. He'll say, yeah, but we're not Anthony Joshua. And that's when the whole conversation got. And I say, what do you mean you're not Anthony Joshua? Well, we're much bigger than that. It's like, you're off your head, mate, if you really think that. You know, when they boxed Nick Blackwell at Wembley, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they sold 2,500 tickets. I don't actually think they did. And that was a really good fight. And when I say that to Senior, he says, well, it wasn't promoted properly. I say, yeah, but everyone knew about the fight. Anyway.
Let me give you an example. Say you'd made Brook Vargas.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was already done before you sort of got to this
Very
deadline
close.
stage.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you tell Senior, you've got till 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That passes, the Brook Vargas fight, in theory, is already signed.
Mm-hmm.
As we stand today, could that door still be open? No, you would have just...
No, enough.
So regardless of because the Brook...
We don't, listen, we got a lovely business. You know I love a pound note, right? I try and make it fairly. But when enough is enough, you know, there were times, probably a week or 2 weeks before, where I said to my dad, he said, fuck them off. Fuck them off. Tell them, go away. Go away. And I said, yeah, but Dad, it's a big fight. you know, there's a lot of money in this fight, we bring Golovkin over, blah, blah. He went, listen, he said to me flat out, Ed, we don't need the money. We don't need the aggravation. And he was right. But I tried to put up with the aggravation, one, to make a good fight, and two, to make a few quid as well. Honest. But when that time comes, enough is enough. And when I turn around and say enough is enough, you know it's been exhausted, because I'm a hungry son of a bitch. Not just for money, but to make the kind of fights that make people go, wow. And that is why, when the Brook opportunity came, I wasn't going to let that one pass as well.
Saw some tweets from Paulie Malignaggi, and a few. I mean, I think most people are sort of just crediting the fight being made first of all, Kell Brook for taking the fight.
The criticism about the weight class.
The weight class,
yeah. You're going to get that, and you know you got it in the Amir Khan fight against Canelo.
And one of them was you being critical of that.
I wasn't critical necessarily about the weight jump. I was critical about the fact that there's no regard for the weight difference. I can't tell you how different Amir Khan and Kell Brook are in size.
And that was made 155 pounds.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. But Canelo would hydrate to heavier than Golovkin. Golovkin will weigh in. See, we've got the hydration weighing on the Saturday with the IBF, which is at a £10 limit. So we'll know exactly what he's weighing. He will weigh about 167, 168 on the Saturday. And Brook won't give too much away. He won't be far behind. Brook is heavier now than Golovkin. Brook is mad. Brook's a light middleweight. I think this is the best for people to get their head around. Brook is a light middleweight. I know he makes welterweight, but trust me when I say Brook is a light middleweight.
A lot of people said that.
Yeah, that is really Brook's perfect weight. So just get your head around. Really, he's moving up from 154 to fight a small middleweight. I say small, but small in comparison to others. Okay, the weight is a disadvantage, no doubt, but it's not as much of a disadvantage as people think. But the proof will be in the pudding.
It's not dangerous in your opinion.
Who?
It's not the weight.
The fight's dangerous.
Yeah, of course it is.
I don't think the weight's... No. It's not going to be a case of... Look, you know, you've got a guy... One guy's going to be probably 172 in the ring. And another guy's going to be about 168, 169. But Kell is not going to start pumping weights and start bulking up. He doesn't need to. He's got more weight to lose than Golovkin. But at 154 pounds, this would have been so perfect. At 160 pounds, he's at a slight disadvantage, for sure. And not only is he at a slight disadvantage for the weight, he's fighting the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, who nobody wants to fight. So he's got it all to do. But Kell Brook is brilliant. He's a brilliant fighter. And when I tell you about how motivated he is for this fight since it's been secured, mate, he is so up for this fight. This is the night for where Kell Brook can become the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. He can become the biggest star in world boxing by beating Gennady on September the 10th. And I get people say, oh, it's a terrible move by you. No. Okay, we know there's millions of pounds. And that's always important. Paul Smith came out with a great line the other day where he said something like, someone said, I don't think Brook should take this fight. He should have stayed at welterweight for his legacy. And Paul Smith replied something like, do you think about your legacy when you're sitting in the office, you know, or you're doing your job? You don't. You think about providing for your family. This is not Kell Brook taking a fight purely for the money, but it has to come into it. Has to. He could make an amount of money for this fight that fighters, probably 2 or 3 fighters in world boxing could make, or 5 fighters tops in world boxing could make. You have to think about that. You also have to think about what it could do for your career, and you have to think about how dangerous it is. You weigh it all up, this is a no-brainer. He's a 147 pound IBF welterweight champion. That doesn't change. Win, lose or draw. What have you got to lose? You're daring to be great, and he's got a real chance in this fight. The key is going to be how much the weight will affect his performance. And all I can tell you is there will be a better Kell Brook in that fight than there would be the Kell Brook at 147 pounds.
What's the bigger fight? EUBANK Golovkin, BROOK Golovkin.
BROOK Golovkin. We've seen it already on a monumental scale, worldwide as well. You know, you've got a guy. All I can tell you is when EUBANK's boxed on Sky, we know the figures, and when Brook's boxed on Sky, we know the figures. He hits huge numbers, Kell Brook, when he fights on Sky. So it's a much bigger fight. Does more pay-per-view buys, generates more international TV. Credibility, I guess people will, you know, if there's any negatives, it's the weight. But on the other side, you've got one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world in Brook and a current world champion. And most feel, I know there'll be people who don't feel, but most feel he's the best welterweight in the world.
Does the undercard, obviously you had a proposed undercard in your head for Golovkin and EUBANK.
Same.
It's same.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us, apart from
Charlie Edwards will fight John Real Casemiro for the world title. We've got to give the Stuart Hall Haskins date in the next 48 hours. That could find its way on there. Dillian White, maybe even Chris EUBANK Jr. I mean, it would work for him fighting the winner, you know.
Can't see that.
If it doesn't, it doesn't. But again,
mind you, I couldn't see BROOK Golovkin happening.
No.
So, yeah.
Well, there you go. But no, you're going to see a great card on September 10th, and we're just sorting out tickets today. Looks like they're going to be same brackets as Joshua. Fight Pass could be Wednesday pre-sale with a general sale on Friday.
This Wednesday.
Could be, yeah. And look, we know what's going to happen with those tickets, but I'm just really pleased to make the fight, you know, to get Golovkin over, and the response has been great.
What have you made of EUBANK's tweets to Brook about? Does that say he's a bit gutted?
Yeah, he's gutted, but
Yeah,
he doesn't know. You know, he doesn't. I could have a phone conversation with Chris EUBANK Jr. where after 5 minutes he would turn around and go, "Oh, I can't," but you know. And if I told him why the fight wasn't happening, he would. He would have the
he now knows with it being.
No, because he won't have that conversation. Won't happen. Now, do you think he phones up his dad and says, "Dad, tell me why it didn't happen"? The dad will say, "Well, son, I wanted to get the best deal for you, and you know they were being difficult and they didn't want to give this." So what didn't they want to give you, Dad? Well, they wanted to do their own ticket prices or agreed, you know, and it was worth much more. They were restricting the amount of money you could make on the show, and that's how that conversation. Oh, right, Dad. Okay, I understand.
But if Chris EUBANK Jr. is watching this now, he's listening to you saying things.
He will be. But I don't have to say that. At the end of the day, if he's not smart enough to work it out himself, then he's going to continue what he's doing, and I'm sure he'll do fine. It's just not for us. That's all. You know, I've got enough on my plate with fighters who I'm very close to, who I feel deserve so much that I have to deliver for, and I can't use my energy, and I can't let that energy be sapped out of me to deal with something that I don't feel as though they deserve as much attention for. And I tried for 3 or 4 weeks. In fact, I'm sure the missus thought, and she, you know, we said actually had a conversation. I've been miserable these last 2 or 3 weeks because it's been horrible. Just like I said, biting your tongue, dealing with these. You know, you come out of a meeting, you're just like, fuck me. You know, I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like, come on. And that's the kind of person I am, really. But it's so hard to have that swag when it's been draining out of you by something that you don't. It's not that you don't believe in, but you know.
Where does this rank among the biggest fights you've made?
It's the biggest fight I've ever made. Yeah. On a world scene. Of course, the biggest fight in Britain we've ever made is Froch Groves, and then probably Joshua Martin. But on a world scene, bringing the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world to the UK, and not just, you know, people said, "Oh, Hearn, you say this is the biggest name ever to come to the UK." Oh, I know Ali's been here. I know Mike Tyson's been here. But let's look at fighters in their prime. Costa Zou's been here. He wasn't in his prime when Ricky Hatton beat him. You know, Tyson wasn't in his prime. So this fighter is in his absolute prime. The #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world is coming. And he's taking on a Brit who's moving up 2 weights. He's 36-0 against 35-0. 71-0. the IBF, WBC, WBA and IBO middleweight world championships in Britain. In Britain, we're bringing them here, and everyone wants to come here. So we know we're doing something right. So, you know, on that, I've got to take this phone call. Are you finished?
I need to ask you.
I'll go on, carry on.
No, go on, answer it. We'll pick it up. So, I mean, we saw some tweets as well from Khan to Brook about taking, you know, giving him credit, but also a little bit backhand, saying, taking a leaf out of my book. I mean, him fighting Golovkin, first of all, let alone beating him, does that change things, do you think, as in regards to a Khan-Brook fight or not?
Well, the Khan-Brook fight is one that's always going to be there, and it will, you know, laying my cards on the table, it will always be a fight that I dream of making. And I think if Amir's, you know, Amir said, you know, go and fight someone decent or win a world title first. Well, he went and boxed Sean Porter, and you know, he beat him and he won a world title. But then it wasn't enough. Now he's stepping up 2 weight divisions and fighting Golovkin. I mean, there was a video clip of Amir Khan, I think the Canelo Khan fight week, saying Kell Brook's talking about fighting Golovkin. I mean, please, as if he's ever going to fight him. You know, you need courage to do that. Blah 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 blah. So. Yeah, I think the Khan-Brook fight is always a fight I dream of making, and it's probably become even bigger now. So fingers crossed one day, again, everyone shows common sense and says that's the right fight to make.
I mean, depending on what happens, obviously September 10th, at the moment, I know it's a bit difficult, but where do you still see EUBANK potentially in the picture, especially obviously with Sky, to fight the winner? I mean, he's tweeted that, but obviously...
Yeah, probably. I mean, again, if it's going to be on Sky Sports box office, it's got to be with us. But he may, you know, I haven't got Golovkin. Nothing would stop him going to try and do it himself, or wouldn't make anywhere near as much money. But I'm sure whatever happens on September 10th, people will be interested in EUBANK fighting the winner.
Because he tweeted afterwards and said, like after you'd announced it, saying, I'm still here waiting to sign.
Well, he probably is. But he doesn't know of any conversations that have gone, only that his dad and the lawyer are handling it.
Would you, if you were to ever sort of pick up on sort of relationships with, would you insist that he was there or in the room at least? So
I don't know, that's never going to happen. Because that would be so much easier. But some, like I said earlier, some advisors and managers don't let you get that close relationship with a fighter because it really makes their job redundant. You know, if you have the right relationship with your promoter and you're smart enough, maybe you've got enough experience and you've got the right people around you, do you need a manager? Maybe, maybe not. Now, someone who, you know, the likes of like Tony Bellew, he's self-managed. Yeah? Scott Quigg, he's self-managed. They are brutal in negotiations compared to any manager. Brutal. So maybe they do a better job and they haven't got to give someone 15 or 20% or whatever it is.
Yeah, so in the melee of this whole Brook Golovkin EUBANK thing, you chucked in Dylan White's going to fight Dave Allen. Yeah. First of all, it's not confirmed it's going to be for the British. No. You're still working on that? Yeah,
the board turned that fight down for the British and made White against Sexton. And I'm just going to go back to the board this week and say, please, common sense. Sam Sexton can have it in writing that he gets the winner, right? So please let us fight Dave Allen for the British, and then we'll fight Sam Sexton. It's exactly the same, only they haven't got to make the peanut money to fight Sexton against Allen for an eliminator. Got to get these belts moving. But my gut feeling is the board will say no, sensationally. And if that's the case, it'll be for the WBC International only. The fight will still go ahead. And
more about the fight, though. I know.
Yeah, great. Listen, I think
want to win the British.
The great thing, like I said about Brook Golovkin fight, people now start going, I've got to step up to the plate. And I think Dave Allen just turned around and said, look, it's great money. I'll have it. And it's great news for the card. The card's outrageous. I mean, you've got Tommy Martin returning, Frankie Gavin returning, Sam Eggington returning. You've got Ryan Burnett defending his WBC International. You've got Gamal Yafai against Josh Wale, which is a really good fight. You've got Tommy Coyle against Tyrone Nurse for the British light welterweight title. You've got Dillian White against Dave Allen, hopefully for the British heavyweight title. You've got Luke Campbell against Mendes, Argenius Mendes, former IBF super featherweight champion for the WBC silver. And you've got Josh Warrington against Highland. What
more do you want?
Twitter blowjob.
Your shows, just finally, your shows.
July 30th, September 10. September 17 may be moved to October the 1st, but we're working on that this week. September 24th, Crolla Linares. October the 15th might be... Basically in October we're looking at Burns, Bellew and Birmingham. The 3 Bs.
Okay.
Bellew defending, looks like could be October the 15th. Burns and Birmingham to slot in there. November could be Josh. And December could be EUBANK versus a winner. Or could be, more likely at the moment, White versus Chisora. You like that for your views, don't you?
Yeah, that 100%. I have something else to ask you. So, September 17th, is that not here though, a show here? Is that...
Sorry mate, go on. I'll give you an example, right? That was Kell Brook's dad, right? So I've sent him my ideas on the ticket prices. He's just turned around to me and said, just look at the ticket prices. I mean, again, you know, whatever you think really looks okay to me.
Don't.
Trust, belief. Anyway, what were we talking about?
September 17th, is that... That's not a show you're having here though, is it?
No, it's abroad.
Abroad. Okay. Can't you just say who it potentially is?
No.
Alright.
Right, thanks for your time. An hour or something.
Yeah, Eddie, thanks for talking to iCall TV.